My sister-in-law firmly believed in the suffering for success philosophy. She was convinced that enduring hardship brought blessings, and that the more one suffered, the greater the countless rewards would be later in life. That's why she wanted my niece to suffer even more. One day, when my niece was using bath soap, my sister-in-law snatched it, slammed it to the ground, and screamed, "Why are you using such precious things? When I was young, I only had 1 bar of soap for my whole body, head to toe. Now you're living so comfortably, you'll surely suffer later. Your mother is doing all this for your own good." I tried my best to stop her. As a teacher, I told her that this so-called suffering for success was a misguided concept, that we should focus on holistic development, both physical and mental. But my sister-in-law wouldn't listen to my advice, stubbornly insisting on her own way. Later, when my niece questioned her, my sister-in-law blamed everything on me. "It was all your aunt's idea. She told me to do it." Because of that, my niece harbored resentment towards me for many years. In the end, my sister-in-law's entire family tormented me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that very day, the day I advised my sister-in-law to abandon her mistaken beliefs. This time, I plastered on a fake smile, echoing her words. "You're absolutely right. Children must endure hardship. If they don't suffer now, how will they enjoy blessings later?" On the day I was reborn, my sister-in-law was still clinging fiercely to her suffering for success philosophy, believing that children who didn't know hardship would have no future. She claimed that if they suffered enough now, they would enjoy boundless blessings later, and that her children would surely be grateful to her when they grew up. Therefore, even if there was no existing hardship, she would create it, forcing her child to endure more so they would receive endless blessings later. "Chloe," she said, her sharp voice pulling me back to reality, "isn't that right?" It was then I realized I had indeed been reborn, back to the exact day I tried to persuade her to change her mind. My sister-in-law stood before me, her face beaming with triumph, passionately lecturing about her suffering for success method. "Look how well-behaved she is. I told you my theory of enduring hardship is correct." My niece, trembling slightly, carried a bowl of chicken soup. Relatives around them showered her with praise, making my sister-in-law even more smug. So young, and already knows how to cook. But some relatives disagreed with her parenting. "Why make them learn so early? Let the children enjoy themselves a little. She's still so young." My sister-in-law immediately put her hands on her hips, pointing directly at the relatives and scolding them. "What do you people understand? It's impossible to reason with you." She was so furious her face turned beet red and her eyebrows twitched. My sister-in-law then turned to me again. "Chloe, tell me, isn't that right?" As she spoke, she subtly shifted the conflict back onto me, her eyes filled with expectation. "Chloe is a teacher, after all. Her words must be the most correct." My sister-in-law looked at me with fervent eyes, speaking as she leaned back on the sofa, eating her chicken soup. "If you say something wrong, you'll have to take responsibility, okay?" Her voice stretched, her eyes fixed on me. On the surface, it seemed like a joke, but only I understood she was serious. In my previous life, my sister-in-law had asked me the same thing in front of everyone. Back then, I thought she genuinely wanted my opinion, so I honestly told her that suffering for success was a futile remnant, completely unnecessary for children in normal families. They didn't need to suffer, simply growing up healthy was enough. I told her never to believe that suffering was valuable. Suffering was just suffering. It didn't bring success. One only endured hardship when it was unavoidable. At that, my sister-in-law's expression shifted slightly, but she said nothing. I thought she agreed, so I went on, explaining that children needed holistic development and should play more to train their mental and physical health. I truly only wanted what was best for my niece. I didn't plan to marry or have children, so I treated her as my own daughter, pouring my heart and soul into her, even planning to leave my assets to her. But I never imagined that my sister-in-law herself was the one who forced my niece to suffer, only to later cry to her, "If I hadn't listened to your aunt, I wouldn't have treated you like this." Because of that, my niece harbored even deeper resentment towards me. In the end, my sister-in-law's entire family poisoned me to death, right in my own home. They were my relatives, the people I trusted most, yet they became my murderers. I watched them calmly create a false scene, as if everything had been planned in advance. My sister-in-law even laughed. "Finally, she's dead. All this property is ours." The whole family hugged each other, laughing happily. Even my mother only said a few words before turning away. No one felt any sorrow at my death. My heart felt as if thousands of needles were piercing through it, a pain so intense I couldn't breathe. My brother looked up, laughing with satisfaction. Good thing I bought insurance for that girl beforehand. Now we're really rich. In that moment, my soul felt a coldness that chilled me to the bone. Remembering this, I could only manage a fake smile, echoing my sister-in-law's words. You're absolutely right, children must endure hardship. If they don't suffer now, how will they enjoy blessings later? Unlike last time, my sister-in-law laughed joyfully. See, I told you so, I wasn't wrong at all. Seeing my sister-in-law's smug expression, I almost burst out laughing. Like parent, like child, indeed. This time, I wanted to see what kind of person a child raised in suffering would become. After dinner, my sister-in-law sought me out to talk. Chloe, she said, her eyes sweeping around, you've agreed to endure hardship, haven't you? She slowly opened her mouth. Then sell all your cars, walking is good enough. If you don't suffer now, you'll suffer more later. I'm doing all this for your own good, you know. It was truly laughable. If suffering was so good, why didn't she do it herself? My sister-in-law looked at me with an expectant gaze, as if she was genuinely worried about me. I was so surprised I couldn't believe it. I have a car, why wouldn't I use it? That's 5 kilometers and you're telling me to walk. She ignored me, slamming a plate onto the tea table with a resounding asterisk bang asterisk. It's all because your mother spoiled you. When I went to school, I had to climb mountains and I didn't die. Why are you the only weak one? Why are you the only one who can't endure hardship? My sister-in-law's voice rose, sharp enough for the whole floor to hear, as she yelled. She was eating cherries from the table, her mouth full of juice. Seeing me staring, she retorted, "What are you looking at? This is the blessing I received after enduring enough hardship. The more my daughter suffers, the more countless blessings I'll receive. What's wrong with me eating a little something delicious?" My eyebrows twitched, anger rising like a volcano about to erupt. Are you insane? I'm truly fed up with your suffering for success philosophy. You make your child suffer while you enjoy the blessings. It would be a miracle if she didn't turn out twisted. What's wrong with me spending my money in my house, eating what I bought? I sneered. Even this house you're living in, I bought it. Why use hot water? Go to the stream and fetch water to drink to save money. If you're so good at enduring hardship, try not turning on the air conditioning when it's 40 degrees Celsius. I'm cutting off the electricity right now. My sister-in-law stared at me, wide-eyed, as if she couldn't believe I dared to speak to her like that. In the past, to maintain peace with my brother's family, whenever my sister-in-law made trouble, I would endure it silently. My mother would also advise me, "You're both women, just concede to her a little. It's not easy for her, marrying into the Tran family all alone." The result was that I devoted myself entirely to them, and they poisoned me to death right in my own home. Thinking of my previous life, my heart grew colder. In this life, I absolutely refused to be a docile lamb again. Whoever wanted to be compassionate could go ahead. My sister-in-law's smile froze. She stammered, Isn't this for your own good?" "For my own good," I burst out laughing, then decisively turned off the air conditioning and walked straight away. "If you like suffering so much, then suffer to your heart's content." I sneered, reiterating her phrase, "Enduring hardship brings blessings. If you suffer now, you'll have countless blessings later. Why turn on the air conditioning, sister-in-law? Won't all your blessings fly away?" My sister-in-law's face instantly turned pale. She couldn't say a word, only managed a forced smile. Right, suffering brings blessings. Whether my sister-in-law suffered or not, I didn't care. But Chloe Tran, was done. If they liked suffering, they could do it themselves. Working like an ox or a horse to earn a little money, only to not be allowed to spend it? How ridiculous. And then to use that philosophy of suffering to force others. I returned to another house I had bought in the city center. I set the air conditioning to 25 degrees Celsius, leaned back on the sofa, and reveled in the comfort of the cool breeze. I had to admit, air conditioning was truly a great invention. My sister-in-law's entire family was living in the house I bought. The electricity and water bills were all paid by me. Previously, I had tried to transfer all those expenses to my brother's name, but my mother sneered at me. "Oh, so you've grown wings now and you don't care about us anymore? Look, everyone, I worked so hard to raise her for so many years, and now that she has money, she's making me pay for water bills myself." My mother shed tears, her voice choked, looking utterly wronged. The neighbors, hearing this, immediately gathered around, criticizing me. Chloe, why are you like this? Your mother worked so hard to raise you. How can you be so unreasonable? Go apologize to your mother right now. Why calculate such small things with your mother? You're truly selfish. The disappointed looks from the neighborhood aunts felt like they wanted to drown me. I was like a hippo that couldn't swim, flailing desperately in the deep sea. Selfish, cold, unreasonable, thoughtless, truly ungrateful, and disloyal. In my previous life, I had cried and apologized to them, humbling myself to the lowest point, bearing all the daily expenses for the entire family. With a salary of less than 10 million VND, I should have lived comfortably, but instead I struggled, drowning in guilt and self-doubt every day. I used to ask myself, am I truly a heartless person? Thinking about all that had happened, I couldn't help but feel sorry for myself. They ate my food, drank my drinks, lived in my house, and still dared to complain? That was truly too much. I wanted nothing more to do with this ungrateful bunch. But just as I feared, the next second, my sister-in-law's phone rang. Chloe, quick, come to People's Hospital #1, Mom's collapse from sunstroke. In my previous life, my sister-in-law would always use my mother's illness or sunstroke as an excuse to drag me home. I would constantly take time off work, rushing back as fast as I could, terrified something bad would happen to my mother. But what was the result? It was all a pretense, their only goal being to find a way to marry me off and get some dowry money. That amount wasn't even close to what I had spent on them. Thinking of this, a bitter feeling welled up in my heart. I calmly drank my chilled watermelon juice, the air conditioning blowing cool air, and nonchalantly replied, "What's the rush? Your whole family is so good at enduring hardship, how could you possibly get sick? Even if you did get sick, with so many blessings, you'd probably recover right away." In this life, I was no longer flustered or anxious, happily lounging on the sofa, feeling indescribably content. My sister-in-law's face cycled through green and purple. Finally, her voice softened. "Chloe, let's just say my family is in the wrong, okay? But that's your asterisk mother. If you don't worry about her, do you even have a conscience? Has your conscience been eaten by dogs, not even caring about your own mother?" My mother, what kind of mother sees her own daughter die and feels no sadness, no regret? In her eyes, my mother-daughter bond of over a decade wasn't even worth the unborn child in my sister-in-law's womb. I scorned them inwardly, but outwardly, I merely replied calmly, "Didn't asterisk you say so yourself?" "Chloe, don't you dare talk back to me. Get back here right now. If you're not here in 10 minutes, you'll know the consequences." My brother snatched the phone, his face livid, and roared into it, his voice like thunder, making me wince and cover my ears. After my father passed away, my brother monopolized authority in the house. He had no real talent, but if anyone hit a nerve, he would immediately lash out and hit them. His punches were never held back. From my mother to my niece, no one had escaped his violence. I was a little afraid of him. After a moment of hesitation, I finally decided to go to the hospital. I wanted to see what kind of trick they were playing this time. After several inquiries, I found my mother's temporary hospital room. Just as I was about to knock, I heard my mother's voice, full of life. "Has that girl arrived yet? When she gets here, tell her to pay the hospital fees. It's ridiculously expensive." Seeing that I wasn't there yet, my mother didn't bother pretending anymore. The more she spoke, the more resentful she became. "This hospital is a ripoff. When my son and grandson are born, they shouldn't come to the hospital, so they don't get swindled. Oh my God, one day's hospital fees are enough for me to eat for a whole month." My heart felt as if an entire bucket of ice-cold water had been thrown on it, chilling me to the bone. It turned out I was nothing more than an ATM. My last shred of hope vanished into thin air, my heart numb. My brother said nothing, but my sister-in-law's eyes lit up. "Mom and I think so too. Because Ning was born in the hospital, she has no blessings. But my son, once he's born, he'll definitely be a genius. He can go to Tsinghua or Peking University later, anything he wants." Just then, I pushed the door open, interrupting their fantasies. I saw my mother lying in the hospital bed, her face rosy, her spirits high, looking even healthier than I was. A normal person with absolutely no signs of illness. I couldn't suppress my anger. I snatched the blanket off her. "Mom, you're fine, so what are you doing at the hospital? A slight cold like this, a sneeze would cure it." My brother, sister-in-law, and mother stood there, staring at me, united against me. In that moment, I realized they were truly a family, and I was just an outsider, someone completely irrelevant. Before I could say another word, they started their accusations. If you hadn't cut off the air conditioning, Mom wouldn't have gotten sunstroke and ended up in the hospital. My sister-in-law frowned, her voice dripping with venom. Chloe Tran, you are truly ungrateful and disloyal. I really despise you. I laughed. I'd like to see, if not for me, who would pay Mom's hospital bills, my useless brother, or my sister-in-law who only knows how to choose the most opportune time to suffer. I'm truly eager to find out. I put my hands on my hips, pointing directly at my sister-in-law's face and cursing. Right, I am ungrateful and disloyal. If I have no conscience, why would you still want me to pay the hospital bills? That's truly daydreaming. Slap. Without hesitation, I slapped my sister-in-law, a loud, clear sound. You're so good with your mouth, why don't I see you paying for it? Aren't you a good person? Pay it, anyone can talk. My mouth fired like a machine gun, unleashing all the grievances that had accumulated over the years. When I finished, my face was drenched in tears. My sister-in-law's face was white, bloodless. She stammered, I don't have a job. She glanced at my brother then, I don't know where she found the courage, continued. I spend your brother's money. I'm giving birth to a child for your family. Don't I deserve to eat well and dress well? Let me tell you, if you dare bully me again, I won't give birth to this child. My sister-in-law's chest heaved violently, so angry she could barely breathe. My mother, seeing me push my sister-in-law so hard, no longer bothered to pretend. She pointed directly at me and cursed, Why don't you just die, you bastard? Today I'm going to beat you to death. Your sister-in-law is carrying the Tran family's bloodline. That's your nephew. My mother rolled up her sleeves, squinting fiercely around, yelling at me as if she wouldn't be satisfied until she beat me to death. Chloe Tran, you even dare to bully your own sister-in-law. Consider this family no longer having a daughter like you. She cursed and babbled incessantly. Finally, a doctor intervened, putting an end to the spectacle. My heart was completely cold. This bunch of ungrateful people, whoever wanted them could have them. Without them, I would only live better. My brother finally gritted his teeth and paid the hospital fees. He valued money more than his life, so naturally, he unleashed all his anger on my sister-in-law. Look what you did, picking a fight with her. If you provoke her to madness, who's going to pay for us? You stupid woman, long hair, short brain, can't do anything right. My sister-in-law stared at her husband, stunned, not daring to argue back. It was only then that she realized I had borne all the household expenses. It turned out I was the pillar of this house. I was their main financial support. In my previous life, to save my brother's face, my mother had repeatedly stopped me, saying, Your brother is a man, what will he do without a house? What girl would marry a man without a car? If a man has no money, how can he face the outside world? Listening to my mother, I gave all the money I earned to my brother, buying him a house and a car. I even paid for his wedding expenses. It felt as if I was the one getting married. I had never understood why dignity wasn't something one built for oneself. Trying to appear glamorous only brought shame upon oneself. In this life, I just sneered, fiddling with my car keys. Looking at the house ownership certificate on the table, an idea suddenly sparked. If they treated me this way, they shouldn't blame me for being heartless. Morality was only for those who deserved it. I immediately processed the paperwork to put the house my brother was living in up for rent, telling them to move out themselves. When the real estate agent brought people to view the house, they shamelessly refused to leave. My brother even roared, This is the house we bought. What right do you have to tell us not to live here? I'll sue you, you greedy swindlers. He had forgotten his autocratic habit of resorting to violence whenever something displeased him, not even bothering to investigate the facts, only knowing how to twist right and wrong. Unfortunately, this time they were in for a disappointment. I had intentionally warned the real estate agent beforehand, my family can be a bit difficult to handle. When you come, remember to bring a few people who know martial arts, in case anyone gets hurt. That would be troublesome. They were very well prepared. The real estate agent brought security guards, who stood blocking the entrance and coldly announced, The homeowner wants to rent out this apartment. We're here to inspect the current condition first. You have 3 days to vacate. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. If you want to call the police, our legal department is always ready to talk. As soon as they heard, Call the police, my mother and the entire family turned pale with fear, not daring to utter another sound. They were only good at bullying the weak. When faced with tough people, they were silent as clams. Once the real estate agents left, my mother immediately called me, her opening words a barrage of accusations. "Chloe Tran, what are you doing? Did you sell the house? Cancel it right now. Where will you make your sister-in-law and brother live? You're this old and you still don't know any better." I was too used to these criticisms. I listened, then indifferently replied, my tone unwavering, "Madam, this is my house. If I want to sell it, I will sell it. You can't control me." This time, I didn't even bother calling her mother. "Doesn't your whole family like to suffer? Eating and drinking like this, how can you call that suffering? You'll lose half your blessings. I'm being kind, helping your family gain more blessings." I said coldly, "I have no relationship with you people anymore. Don't cling to my house and refuse to leave. Your son is so talented and filial, tell him to take care of it." With that, I decisively hung up and blocked all their numbers. Before, I had clearly devoted myself entirely to my mother, taking her to the best hospital to treat her eyes. But in the end, what good did it do? Wherever she went to brag, my mother only spoke about her brilliant son. In my mother's eyes, I was nothing more than a pile of useless trash. When the neighborhood aunts praised me for being capable, my mother would sneer, "What good is being smart? How much money does she even earn? She's still unmarried at this age." A grown woman running around all day like this, who would marry her? My mother bent over, cackling, trampling my self-respect underfoot. I was like a rag in the house, full of stains, decaying and rotten. I had clearly sacrificed everything, yet in the end I was still despised. Meanwhile, all my brother had to do was pour my mother a glass of water, and she would beam, unable to close her mouth. People always say a bowl of water must be poured evenly, but what happens when the scale is unbalanced? Recalling the past, looking at the sunlight streaming through the window, my eyes blurred with tears. Everything was in the past now. Finally, I embraced the life that belonged to me, a life free from shackles. Everything was a new beginning. My career began to progress smoothly, while my sister-in-law and her family were in utter chaos, like a tangled hot pot. The real estate agent came to hand over the house, expelling the entire family along with their belongings. My mother cursed and babbled nonstop, but it was all in vain. Even the neighborhood aunts who usually danced in the square with my mother whispered, "Oh, why is Mrs. Kenna being kicked out like this? Where's her brilliant son? Didn't he prepare a big villa for her? Where is it? Let me see. He's really handsome." My mother's face flushed, changing colors, her usually eloquent mouth now sealed shut. Without a place to live, and my brother refusing to return to the countryside, the whole family had to squeeze into a small room. They could only rely on my mother's meager pension to rent a dilapidated old basement. The basement was dark and damp, with rats occasionally scuttling by. Their quality of life plummeted drastically. Without my money to support them, they argued every day over petty things. My niece used bath soap, and my sister-in-law immediately snatched it, slamming it to the ground. "Why are you using such precious things? When I was young, I only had 1 bar of soap for my whole body, head to toe. Now you're living so comfortably, you'll surely suffer later. Your mother is doing all this for your own good." My niece flinched back quickly, her whole body trembling, a dangerous glint in her eyes, but she dared not argue with my sister-in-law. My niece only ate 1 more mouthful of rice and my mother scolded her. "Does this family have a mind? Eating like this, even a mountain of gold and silver would go bankrupt. You spendthrift." My mother pointed directly at my sister-in-law and cursed, unleashing all the pent-up grievances from these past days. Hearing this, my sister-in-law became even more furious. "Didn't you curse the girl to leave? If you yourself are useless, why blame everything on me?" My sister-in-law's belly grew larger and larger, her body becoming weaker and weaker. My mother, though angry, dared not argue back and had to swallow her resentment. She often looked out the window, looking as if she had aged decades. Was she regretting it? But I no longer had a mother. My mother didn't love me. This made me realize that not all mothers love their children. Love also has classifications and priorities. I thought to myself, I wouldn't have children either in the future. Time passed until the day my sister-in-law went into labor. My brother planned to drain all the money in the house to take her to the hospital to give birth. If it wasn't enough, he planned to borrow from me and pay me back later. My brother frowned, looking serious. "Giving birth still needs a hospital. Giving birth at home is too dangerous. Where's Chloe? Go ask her what she thinks." Suddenly, he fell silent, remembering that I had left a long time ago. They had forgotten their habit of dumping all their problems on me and later blaming me for everything. They looked foolish, but they were actually quite cunning. My sister-in-law waved her hand. Give birth at home, children born in hardship have a future, then we'll leave all our property to him. Who knows, he might have a very comfortable life later. My brother wavered slightly. My sister-in-law continued, I've calculated it. This boy will definitely become a high official later. Just you wait. My mother was also convinced by my sister-in-law. Listen to her, the fortune teller she knows is very accurate. In the end, even after her water broke, they didn't go to the hospital. My sister-in-law gave birth right on the old, dirty bed in the dark, damp basement. Blood continuously flowed from her, spilling onto the floor and staining the walls. The result, the son the whole family had hoped for was a stillborn. My sister-in-law's second pregnancy ran into trouble. The bleeding wouldn't stop, and she had to be rushed to the emergency room. My brother was directly scolded by the doctor. Your wife is about to die, fungal infection. Do you think having a baby is a joke? Where's your mother? Don't you have any asterisk basic knowledge, huh? My brother bowed his head in shame, chastised. Because of this incident, all the family's savings were wiped out. My sister-in-law woke up to the news that her baby had died. She was distraught, crying nonstop. My brother was furious, cursing and yelling, Didn't you say this baby had the most blessings? How did it become a stillborn? Before, every time it was time for a prenatal checkup, my sister-in-law stubbornly refused to get an ultrasound, claiming the hospital was tricking them for money. Only rich people go, I won't go. The radiation affects the baby's blessings. I've accumulated so many blessings by enduring hardship, how can I let the hospital trick me? Without me there to stop them, and hearing it was a son, my brother and mother praised my sister-in-law to the heavens. Hearing that prenatal checkups would affect the grandchild's blessings, my mother immediately waved her hand. Don't go. As a result, they had no idea the child had died in the womb until it was too late. When my sister-in-law was discharged from the hospital, she took all her suffering and unleashed it on my niece. She believed her son's untimely death was because the family hadn't suffered enough, that they were still living too comfortably. My niece was crushed by my sister-in-law, forced to endure countless hardships under the guise of accumulating blessings. To encounter such a mother was truly pitiful, but in this life, I merely stood by and watched. You can never tame a wild wolf, saving it only leads to it biting you back. Better not to save it at all. To implement her so-called suffering for success, education, in the dead of winter, with temperatures below -10 degrees Celsius, my sister-in-law made my niece wear only a thin cotton jacket to school. My niece's feet were so frostbitten they cracked and festered, the pain like knives piercing her heart. Seeing this, my sister-in-law just smiled joyfully. Ning is so good. She didn't notice the increasingly dangerous look in the girl's eyes, still smiling contentedly at her child's wounds. My sister-in-law always chose the shabbiest, most torn clothes for my niece. Unexpectedly, because of her ragged clothes, my niece was ostracized by the entire class. Her classmates looked at her with contempt, whispering behind her back, "Look how ugly she is, her hands are all scarred." The school offered subsidies for impoverished students. One time, my niece went home and told her mother about this subsidy, head bowed, mumbling, her whole body trembling, not daring to speak loudly. My sister-in-law, hearing this, flew into a rage and slapped my niece. "What did your mother tell you, huh? So young and already craving pleasure? Why are you learning from your aunt? Don't think she's living comfortably now. She'll suffer terribly later. Has your mother ever harmed you? If you enjoy yourself now, you'll only suffer later. Suffer now, and later you'll have countless blessings." By now, with no more money from me, their lives were incredibly difficult. They dared to eat meat only once a week. My sister-in-law still didn't forget to hammer her, suffering for success, philosophy into my niece's head, but she failed to realize that the longer a starved dog is kept and denied food, the harder it bites. For the sake of appearances, the whole family stubbornly refused to accept government subsidies. My niece's homeroom teacher, seeing her pitiful state, even paid out of her own pocket to buy her lunch, trying her best to ensure she was well fed and could study better. But my niece was not grateful at all. She threw the entire lunchbox to the ground, her eyes still greedily looking at the dark, rich food. "Are you trying to harm me? My mother said that if I don't suffer, I won't have a future." The young teacher was stunned, then ran out. From then on, the only person who cared about my niece was gone. At school, no one bothered to talk to her. She withdrew into a corner, her academic performance, which wasn't bad initially, plummeted, falling into the weak average group of the class. At first, she thought her mother would question her, ask why her grades had fallen, why she had been so quiet lately. But my sister-in-law completely ignored it, casually saying, "A daughter will get married anyway, what's the point of studying so much?" My mother was even more excited, echoing, "Right, right, marrying off early to save rice and grain." The light in my niece's eyes completely died out. So she was just an item, not meant to study, and no one cared. Just then, my sister-in-law accidentally saw an exciting news report and called my mother. Mom, look, isn't that Chloe? I've been trying to call her for ages but couldn't get through. She's living so well. She was even nominated for an Outstanding Teacher Award." Calculation gleamed in my sister-in-law's eyes. After discussing it with my mother, she was still a bit hesitant. "Is that really okay? At most, we can just live a little harder. We don't need to do that." My sister-in-law immediately instigated. "She doesn't even care about us anymore. What kind of family is that? Just listen to me, Mom." Meanwhile, my teaching career was progressing very smoothly. To avoid trouble, I transferred to a private high school, far away from my niece's elementary school. The students here were talented and diligent. A slight hint was all they needed to understand. Thanks to my students' excellent achievements, I received a large bonus and won the Outstanding Young Teacher award in the city-level competition. As I was giving a media interview, an old woman with a dirty face suddenly burst in, falling to her knees before me. "Chloe, Mom knows she was wrong. Please, my child, save me. Mom has no food to eat. Mom knows she was wrong. Please come home." I stared at her for a long time, speechless. Reporters, seeing this, swarmed me, snapping photos and barraging me with questions. "Excuse me, why aren't you taking care of your biological mother? Is such unfilial behavior appropriate for the ethics of the teaching profession? Miss Chloe Tran, please answer this question frankly." I said nothing, turning my back to leave, but my mother clung to me, refusing to let go. That night, the incident went viral. Overnight, I gained a notorious reputation everywhere. The school requested that I temporarily stop teaching for investigation, and my class had to be transferred to another teacher. My sister-in-law, knowing a little about social media, seized this opportunity to open a live stream, complaining about her hardships, attracting a huge audience. In the live broadcast, my sister-in-law, with her heavily pregnant belly, led viewers on a tour of their damp, cramped basement, home to the four of them. "This is truly outrageous. How can such a heartless person exist? It's unbelievable, everyone. Let's report her. It's absurd. How can someone like that be a teacher?" Many of my students spoke up in my defense. "Ms. Tran is a very responsible teacher. How can everyone say such things about her?" But those words of defense were quickly drowned in a sea of criticism. My sister-in-law capitalized on the virality of the incident, earning a significant amount of money through her live stream. That very night, she rented a better apartment and moved out of the basement. I looked at the old woman in front of me, momentarily stunned. Just a few months and she had withered away to this. I frowned, saying nothing, only placing some food in front of her. Looking at my mother's appearance, she probably didn't even have enough to eat. "Tell me, why did you come looking for me?" My mother grasped my hand, her voice choked. "Chloe, Mom knows she was wrong. You don't know, your sister-in-law is truly too much. Everything has to be about suffering. She says if we don't suffer, it will affect her good deeds. Your brother can't do anything. He's a grown man and the whole family has to live off Mom's meager pension. Tell me, why didn't Mom realize it sooner?" My mother spoke, then burst into desperate tears, her emaciated body shrinking into a ball, her hunched back trembling slightly. She clearly didn't say much, but every word, every syllable was filled with resentment. My mother cried and slapped herself. "Mom is so foolish. How could I have believed your sister-in-law's words? Mom was wrong. Mom truly knows she was wrong." She cried to the point of near collapse, as if genuinely repenting for everything she had done to me. I spoke up. "I won't be coming back. Take this money and remember to take care of your health." With that, I turned and walked away decisively without a trace of affection. How could my mother be living such a miserable life? Hadn't I still been sending her a regular old-age pension? I couldn't understand no matter how much I thought about it, but my heart still couldn't find peace. What had happened could not be changed. Once a crack appeared, there was no going back to how things were before. No matter how perfectly it was mended, there would still be a gap. I hoped my mother had truly repented. After that meeting, I didn't go back. But my sister-in-law, as if sensing an opportunity, became increasingly outrageous, using social media as a cover to spread all sorts of fabricated stories about me. She said I had to pay rent to live in my own house, that I would rather buy myself a handbag than spend money on decent clothes for my mother. She said this while crying, even bringing my niece into it to complain about her hardships. Look, everyone, my little girl doesn't even have a proper set of clothes to wear. Ning hasn't worn anything decent for months. Thank you, kind people, for sending money to help, but you really don't need to. Everyone has their own difficulties. Faced with the rumors online, I had once come forward to explain that my mother was unreasonable and that we had cut ties. But the result was being cursed at, told I was worse than an animal. All explanations became meaningless. Unexpectedly, I decided to take legal action. I remained silent, and my sister-in-law thought I was scared. She specifically changed her phone number and called me, her tone arrogant and boastful. "Chloe, why don't you apologize to me? If you apologize, I'll say a few good words for you in front of everyone." She rubbed her pregnant belly, chuckling gleefully. "How can one walk by the river for so long without getting their shoes wet, Chloe? You're still too naive. Give me 100,000 VND, and we'll call it even. I'm not like you, counting every penny with family members. Look how much suffering I've endured, I'm sure to have blessings." Hearing her smug words, I merely smiled faintly. Truly ignorant of the law, do you know that fabricating and slandering others is a crime? You dare talk back to me?" My sister-in-law didn't notice the look of deep, long-suppressed hatred in my niece's eyes beside her. I sneered. "Just wait. Wait for the court summons, sister-in-law. Spreading false rumors is a crime. Don't blame me for not warning you. It wouldn't be good if your mother had to go to prison when you give birth, would it?" At court, my lawyer presented a series of evidence that left my sister-in-law's entire family stunned. "This case is surely one." My sister-in-law, unwilling to concede, screamed, "No, she stole my things." I merely raised an eyebrow and smirked. "Lost the lawsuit, so now you're resorting to tricks?" The judge shook his head, looking at this drama, and sternly said, "The accuser must provide evidence. Do you have any proof?" Of course, there was no proof. A clerk approached and inspected my handbag. Inside, there was only my ID card, bank card, tissues, and a lipstick. My sister-in-law was flustered, not knowing what to do, and stammered, I must have seen wrong." This lawsuit concluded when the court announced its verdict. My sister-in-law was sentenced to less than 3 years in prison for fabricating and slandering another person's reputation, causing serious social impact. I requested that my sister-in-law record a public apology video, specifically naming me to apologize. That wasn't too much to ask, was it? I looked at my sister-in-law, smirking. No matter how unwilling she was internally, my sister-in-law had to bow her head and apologize in the presence of the judge. The untrue rumors I've been spreading online recently were all fabricated. I sincerely apologize for the damage caused to Ms. Chloe Tran. I apologize for wasting everyone's time. With that, my sister-in-law bowed and was led away by the police. Seeing the comments of apology from netizens, I just smiled faintly. "Sister, I truly misjudged you. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, that's an epic move. I told you, this woman doesn't look like a bad person." Before going to prison, my sister-in-law was allowed one request. She wanted to meet me and my niece one last time. I drove my niece to the detention center. In the visiting room, I saw my sister-in-law looking gaunt, her face sallow, so thin her bones were visible. But in that weak, thin body, her eyes still held a fierce glint. My niece screamed, full of rage. I pretended as if nothing was happening, but even I, an adult, broke out in a cold sweat. We quickly arrived at the prison gate. As we entered, we saw my sister-in-law cowering, leaning against the bars. She called my niece over first. My sister-in-law looked at my niece, her eyes full of remorse. "I'm sorry, Mom was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way." But a life stained with hardship could never be changed. My niece subtly curled her lip into a smile, her eyes filled with bitter hatred. "No, it's not like that. It's not like that. Why did you give birth to me? Why did you make me suffer like this?" My niece's small hands reached through the bars, gripping my sister-in-law's neck tightly, her eyes sharp and cruel. "Why don't you just die, Mom? I was living so well at first." My niece completely broke down, as if she wanted to choke my sister-in-law to death right then and there, but the police quickly intervened. The police officer, after checking, looked at my sister-in-law and said, "You're lucky to be alive. You were just a moment away from losing your life." My sister-in-law clutched her chest, cold sweat pouring like rain, her voice trembling. How could this be?" Her voice was almost cut off, utterly terrified. I stood there, watching this drama, and couldn't help but laugh. Truly, you can never tame a wolf. In my previous life, even though I treated my niece extremely well, fulfilling all her requests, she still let my sister-in-law poison me to death with just a few instigating words. In this life, she laid hands on her own biological mother without holding back. My niece, Ning Tran, was detained for attempted assault. My sister-in-law hadn't recovered her senses and didn't mention wanting to see me. I only left a few words for her. Suffering is just suffering. It's not worth pursuing. An ugly duckling turning into a swan isn't because it suffered or was tempered, but because it was a swan by nature. Plum blossoms emit fragrance in the winter sky not because of the cold, but because they inherently possess that fragrance. I paused there for a moment. I don't hate you. I only hope you truly reflect and learn to love yourself. Life is only a few decades. Cherish the present. When I left, I no longer saw my sister-in-law, only a slumped back, thin shoulders trembling continuously. I sighed, hoping she could understand. A few days later, my niece was released due to her mother being in prison. My niece naturally had to live with her legal guardian, which was me. After leaving the detention center, my niece was like a madwoman, even mentally unstable. Since my sister-in-law went to prison, I had hired someone to take care of my mother periodically each week. Occasionally, I would also visit to check on her situation. Honestly, sometimes I had very negative thoughts. Why were they still living so well, while I had to suffer like this? This time, when I returned home and stood watching my mother from a distance, my niece suddenly approached me. "Auntie, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Why did you abandon me?" My niece screamed like a madwoman. "What right do you have to let them treat me like that? Now I have no job, and it's all your fault. If you had still taken care of me like before, it wouldn't have come to this." Before I could react, I was hit by a rain of my niece's unreasonable accusations. Every sentence, every word shot out like bullets from a machine gun. Blood vessels pulsed clearly on her hands as if she was trying to suppress her anger. I gave a faint, cold smile. A wild wolf is always a wild wolf. In the end, she still blames everything on me. I patted her shoulder gently. "Yes, I was reborn. I'm not foolish enough to live again only to be killed by you all again. How ridiculous. It's clearly your fault. Why blame it on me?" I lowered my head, my voice cold. "Your life is your own, niece. You only need to be responsible for yourself. This is just the beginning. It's never too late to realize your mistakes and learn from them." My niece stood there stunned, finally not following me anymore. I let out a sigh of relief, quickening my pace forward, beginning my own life. Whether my niece listened or not was her business. Thanks to her good attitude of admitting fault, my sister-in-law was released from prison early. This time, she no longer caused trouble. Her eyes were much clearer and she exuded a strong aura. I heard that she later became a sales manager. From then on, things gradually settled down. My sister-in-law also repeatedly told my niece, "Mom was wrong. Suffering alone won't bring success. To have a good life, you have to work hard, you have to strive. If you don't strive, where will happiness come from?" This time, the eyes of their entire family glowed with a glimmer of hope.